David has a set of quarters and dimes. The total number of coins he has is 22, and the total value is 4. How many quarters does he have? There are two ways to do this. We can plug in the answers and work backwards, or we can come up with algebraic expressions and work that way using system equations. Let's do that way first, because that's the tendency of most people. The algebraic way is to come up with two equations. In this case, he has a set of quarters and dimes. So let's say Q represents the number of quarters that he has, and D will represent the number of dimes that David has. In this case, the total number of quarters plus dimes that he has is 22, and the total value is $4. So if we do 0.25 times Q, that gives us a total value, how much the quarters are worth that he has, plus 0.10 D, and that's equal to $4. And so since we have two equations here and two unknowns, we can solve for them. This, since we're asked how many quarters he has, we want everything to be in terms of Q, right? So I'm going to rewrite this first equation as D equals 22 minus Q, so I can get rid of that D. We're going to plug that D in there basically. So we have 0.25 Q plus 0.1 times 22 minus Q. That replaces this D, and that's equal to 4. We have 0.25 Q plus 2.2 minus 0.10 Q is equal to 4. Combine like terms, and we get 0.15 Q is equal to 1.8. So basically, what we did is we solved for D up here, this equation here, in order to get rid of D. To get everything in terms of Q. Finally, if we do 1.8 divided by 0.15, we get 12. So we have 12 is the total number of quarters he has. If you wanted to do a check, we can plug 12 into this equation, solve D is equal to 10, and then plug 10 in here, 12 in there, and make sure that equals to $4. Now I did mention that there's a second way to do this, and that's plugging in the answer choices. Here, let's say this is your text booklet. I want you to kind of make a nice chart. The question asks, how many quarters does he have? So the answer choices basically represent the potential number of quarters that he has. And we know that the total value is $4 of all the quarters and dimes, and the total number of coins he has is 22. So the other knowns would be, we have the number of quarters he has, the number of dimes that he has, and the value. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with C because that's the middle number. Always they're going to be an ascending or descending order. If he has 12 quarters and he's supposed to have 22 coins total, he's going to have 12 dimes as well, right? So the value of the quarters, if we do 11 times 0.25, that's going to give us, what is that going to give us? That's going to give us $2.75. The value of the dimes, he has 11 of these as well, so that's going to be $1.11. And the value of Q plus the value of D has to equal $4, right? So we do 2.75 plus 1.15, and that's equal to $3.85. That's not equal to 4. So obviously we know C is not the right answer, but this is another reason why we choose C, because we get 3.85. In other words, we're off our mark, and specifically we're too small. So what do you think we should do? We should increase the number of quarters, right? So automatically we can eliminate A and B. As you can see, this is nice because we never want to be obviously plugging in for A, B, C, D, and E. That's just going to take way too long. Anyway, so if we go down to answer choice D, let's say that he has 12 quarters, which means that he's going to have 10 dimes, because again 12 plus 10 is equal to 22. And then the value of the quarters, 12 times 0.25, that gives us $3. 10 times 0.10, that gives us an even dollar, and we get $3 plus $1 is equal to $4, which is our target value. So again, we just confirmed our answer. Now obviously on the test, you don't want to be doing this both ways. If you're algebraically inclined, then by all means go through the algebra. Sometimes this is a a much more efficient way. But it is a method that a lot of people make errors on because they don't make the right equations, or sometimes they plug in for the wrong letter and solve for the wrong thing. This plugging in the answer is foolproof. This should work every single time that you do it, as long as you set up your chart correctly. And I tend to think that it's a lot easier since we're dealing with numbers as opposed to variables. One thing to note also, again, it's really important to start with C. However, if the question is asking for the minimum number, for instance, we want to start with the smallest number, obviously. If it's asking for the maximum number, again, start with the biggest number. But again, the idea is basically to use the answers that they give us. So the first step would be to identify the question, what the question is asking. In this case, it asks how many quarters does he have. So all the answers represent the potential number of quarters he does have. From there, we can figure out the number of dimes he has using what's given. And then we can figure out the value of the quarters, value of the dimes. When we add them, they should equal the other given, which is $4. In this case, we get D to be the answer, 12 quarters.